Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And here we have an article from the Motley Fool, which I will leave in the description down below so you guys could check it out. So something very interesting to point out, and they make a very good point in this article. This new technology could destroy one of Verizon's biggest advantages. So just wanted to cover these key points here, and then I'll leave this article for you guys to check out. Verizon's customer base is the most loyal amongst the big three carriers. That's already been put out in a report recently, not too long ago. So that's a good key point. But new phones make it easier to try other carriers. Talking about eSIM, that's the technology that they're talking about in the title. And then the telecom's network lead has disappeared, and customers may find better service elsewhere if they try. Right. So I kind of wanted to further explain that. Right. With eSIM, it allows other carriers like T-Mobile to do test drives. And I know Verizon now does that as well. And AT&T hasn't really adapted it on postpaid, but they have been doing that on, or offering that on Cricket, which is their prepaid brand. Now, I kind of want to explain this last part a bit more, where it says the telecom's network lead has disappeared and customers may find better service elsewhere. So in terms of the largest network, Verizon still has the largest network. There's just too much crowdsourced data out there that shows that Verizon is still the largest footprint in the United States. And that goes with also with some of the partners that use their spectrum. That's also still considered Verizon's footprint. So AT&T may say that they have the largest native network, which may be true, but Verizon's roaming partners that use the Verizon spectrum, for Verizon customers, it's just like using the native network. So that's kind of where that comes into play in terms of the back and forth, who has the bigger network, right? AT&T says they have the bigger native network. Verizon still has the overall bigger network. So that's the point there in terms of, is the lead really disappearing? And where it might be, what they might be talking about is, for an example, there's still a large footprint to cover, even with those partners that I mentioned, where Verizon has to upgrade sites. They have to upgrade to NR. Right now there's a lot of band 13 only LTE sites. In some cases, it's band 13 and band 66. They have to upgrade that. And in those areas that T-Mobile is expanding to, and they get to them, right? T-Mobile is not going to build old technology on new sites. So of course they're coming out of the gates with N41 and N71 and N25 and all that other goodness. So they go from, in a lot of those areas, they really go from worst to first, right? If T-Mobile launches a new cell site in a very rural place that Verizon has been competing at for years, and they have most of the share, but that site for Verizon is still band 13 and band 66, T-Mobile comes in with N41, N71, 100 plus megahertz. They go from worst to first, right? They'll likely have the lowest pings, fastest speeds. They will likely be able to offer home internet. So that's going to be a tough case for Verizon to keep that customer, because, if that customer can use the test drive, they're going to be like, well, wait a minute, Verizon is no longer the best network for that person's area, right? Which is still anecdotal, but I think that's kind of what they're talking about here in terms of Verizon's lead disappearing. I still maintain the position that they have the overall largest network by far, in my opinion. But in areas that, like I said, that T-Mobile is moving into, and they bring all the spectrum they got, they turn everything on in terms of NR, 10 times out of 10 in those areas, they're going to go from worst to first. It's going to take Verizon and even AT&T to step up in those areas, upgrade those cell sites with C-band, and for for AT&T's case, DoD, to really competitively match the network. But, those are just some of the key points that I wanted to cover, give some further explanation. I think eSIM is the future. Of course it is. But these test drives are allowing customers to overcome their own perception, right? In some cases, T-Mobile's perception for that customer maybe it doesn't work. They never had service. It's not good. But now that they can use the test drive and they use it and they're like, wait a minute, it works well. In some cases, some areas, it works better than what I currently have. So that's going to be very hard for Verizon to overcome themselves, because they're competing based on having the best network, when, like I said, in some cases that may no longer be the case. Now, overall nationwide, per root metrics, at least in the metros, Verizon is still the leader by a long shot, but AT&T seem to have closed that gap, and I'll cover that in another video more fiercely on the state level, to where overall they did take the number one spot. Kind of looking at the metro combined with the state level, it looks like AT&T has that far of a lead at the state level that they can claim the number one root metric spot. So again, this is not the end all be all, of course. Verizon is going to continue investing big in the network. They have pretty much still the rest of this year left to really make a dent in that rural footprint with building out C-band there. It's going to take them some time, but I think eventually they'll get there. But, these are some great key points in terms of, could eSIM potentially get more people to switch from Verizon as they test other networks. So make sure you guys stay tuned to the channel for more. Like, share, subscribe, follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.